Robbo.
It's the most talked about TV show that's not on TV.
And I think you guys are amazing.
With raw, honest opinions.
This was not a mistake. This was a lie.
Exclusive stories.
Some industry insiders have been talking about this.
Is that a Ben Robin Robbo exclusive?
And plenty of famous faces.
I'm not wasting these gold moments on 60 Minutes.
The Ben Robin Robbo Show is the new way to stream your news.
This is the stuff that headlines are made of.
Live every Monday to Thursday at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Ticker TV or Facebook and Twitter at BRR Show. Watch live or on demand.
Ben Robin Robbo.
Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight and David Robinson.
Ben Robin Robbo. It's the Ben Robin Robbo, Ben Robin Robbo, Ben Robin Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben Robin Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello and welcome to a brand new week of the Ben Robin Robbo Show. I'm Rob McKnight. Thanks for your company. I'm joined by two lovely fellas in David Robinson and Ben Norris. Robbo, what did you get up to on the weekend? Oh, we're off to a good start, Ben. Robbo's gone.
Has he? Oh, he looks lovely. He looks like
Doesn't
he's
he
having
look
such a
happy?
wonderful time. Yeah, he's thinking about, maybe his star sign that he read just before the show started.
What did you get up to on the weekend, Ben?
What didn't I get up to? Oh, hang on a sec. I did nothing but sit around. I had a few glasses of red wine on Friday. I watched a lot of movies that were all terrible. And yeah, I tried to convince my partner into watching Far and Away. And he was like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen.
He's got a fair point. Robbo, David, I'm hearing breaking news. David Robinson has joined us and he's got that grumpy look off his face. Hello, David Robinson.
Hello there. You know when it's tough when you're in a studio by yourself and everything goes to shit? That's how I like to. That's how I like to start a Monday show. So yeah, we're all good. Thanks for having me.
It's good to be had in a way, David. How was your weekend?
It was very good, thank you, sir. Nothing too exciting, just very boring, but good.
Right, okay, fair enough. Let's move. There's a lot coming up on today's show. We are talking to Mog about some big TV topics, and we'll be meeting Harley Breen, who is the host of Drunk History. And I'm sure with a comedian in the house, it might be a very funny chat. We can only hope. But look, let's get into our hot button issues. And a lash technician from Melbourne has released dramatic video of her arrest. Natalie Bonnet was travelling to work when she was stopped by police at a checkpoint. She was originally pulled over because police alleged that her phone was connected to a charger. It's an offence in that state. Now, after refusing to give her licence and details, the exchange became heated and she was forced from her car.
The problem is you're not stating your name to me.
Just because I have a car
Can
charger.
you get out of the car, please?
No, I don't feel safe. You're armed.
You're safe. Don't you worry
No,
about
I
that.
don't feel safe. You're attempting to get into my vehicle. What are you doing? Why? Excuse me. You're not practicing. What the f*** are you doing? What the f*** are you doing? Get off me!
Get out of the car.
Get off me!
She's got anxiety,
What are you doing?
Relax, she's sick.
What are you doing?
She's actually sick. Relax. Hey! Relax!
Mrs. Bonnet was held in cuffs for 15 minutes before her boyfriend did the right thing eventually and handed over her licence, and she was let go. As well as the video, she also released photos allegedly showing bruises from the incident. She has since been charged with a variety of offences, including resisting arrest, failure to state her name and address, and driving with obscured vision. Ben, was this heavy-handed?
Yeah, well, look, it's really brutal to watch regardless of the circumstances. I think it's very clear to everyone that she was in the wrong. I think she was not handing over her information. Interestingly enough, I saw on social media, yesterday when people were discussing this, anyone who is needing special circumstances to be getting around Victoria, they should really be having all of their correct credentials on them, sitting next to them, ready to go. And this person who shared their story with me, it was very interesting. They said that the police, when stopping them, sometimes had a fairly abrupt nature, and they just thought, hang on a sec, you know what? I'm still doing the right thing. And even though there were certain times where the police had an abrupt nature, he still went through the correct procedure and handed things over. This girl was not doing the right thing. But as I said at the start, it's really traumatizing when we see any footage of anyone in a state of duress. Last point I would like to make about this, though, is when you saw her being interviewed later that day, she showed no remorse. She didn't care about it. And you could see this look in her face as though she was quite pleased with herself. So there's a lot of factors going into this, Rob.
Yeah, this woman is a menace on society. Not only is she filming it, she's saying to a police officer, "You're armed and I don't feel safe. Give me a break." This is attention-seeking BS in the highest degree, and I hate it that we're even giving this airtime, but I did make the choice to do that because I do believe people like this need to be called out. That self-righteous smugness just needs to get out of town. You know, like, you did the wrong thing. You actually would not produce your license, and so anything that happens after that is on you, dear lady. You have no right to complain about what the police did for taking you out of the car. And all this came to an end as soon as your boyfriend gave the police your license and information. This is nothing but attention-seeking BS. Robbo, what do you think? Oh.
I think you're both wrong. I think she's a wonderful young woman, and you're in the wrong. Oh, so I couldn't even hold a straight face for that. No, she's an idiot. That, plain and simple, you got to remember that. Secondly, she's playing up to the camera. The camera is just, it's ready to go. Yeah. She keeps turning to it. And if she does have a medical condition, no worries. But wouldn't it be exacerbated by doing everything that you're doing there? This is a crock of absolute rubbish. She deserves everything she gets, and I hope she's guilty. Found guilty, rather.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Well, look, staying in Melbourne, and protests at the famous Queen Victoria markets quickly turned violent. Police clashed with demonstrators in the middle of a busy morning of shopping, with customers and retailers caught up in the fray. In total, 74 people were arrested and 176 fines were issued. I think we've got some overlay of these protests, Amanda. Can we have a look at that? Ben, what do you think of this? Was this an appropriate show of force?
Well, look, I think money could be better spent if we didn't have stupid people roaming the city when they really shouldn't be. It's really hard for us not to sound like, I don't know, like we're martyrs, or we're just, we're in the right and they're in the wrong. I'm trying to come to the party and understand that there are people who have a difference of an opinion to me. But what I don't understand is if these people weren't out and about doing the wrong thing, then we wouldn't be spending this much money on having that much police in an area like the Queen Victoria Market. I mean, there was a lot of people mocking these photos, saying, this doesn't seem like Australia. This seems like a war-torn country. But at the end of the day, I don't know enough about how a police officer decides to arm themselves in a situation like what they believe they're going into. It does seem a little excessive, but if that's what it takes for a police officer to feel safe when trying to protect the law, then maybe that's okay.
Well, they were protesting, and look, there's no doubt. I'm not in Melbourne. You are there, Ben. And there is no doubt it is a tinderbox. People, I think I've seen some people saying they've been in lockdown for 176 days or something like that. And that would completely do your head in. And I get it. I get that this is so tough, and I can't understand it because I'm not in Melbourne. You are. But ultimately, decisions have been made to protect the greater good. And we have to follow those decisions. We're not in a society where people can just choose what laws they obey and what they don't. And it's terrible that we've got typically law-abiding citizens deciding to make these points and, and go against the law. And it's just, I don't know, it's a terrible situation to me.
Well, I think it comes down to, before we get on to what Robbo has to say, because I'm sure he has a lot to add to this as well, but, people appear to be, people appear to be doing the wrong thing. And I agree with some people wanting to demonstrate their difference of an opinion, but isn't there a smarter way of being able to get our messages across? I mean, this is a really interesting time in the world right now where there are lots of people having a conflict of an opinion, and protesting has been able to make a difference at certain times in our life. Sure. So I can't turn my back on that completely, but I do reach to the idea of wishing and wanting there to be a better way for people to voice their opinions than like what's happening.
Robbo, these are the kind of people, if they lived through World War II during the Blitz, bombs would be coming down from German air fighters and they'd be saying, well, I shouldn't have to go into an air raid shelter. I deserve to be able to stand out on the streets. These people are idiots.
Yeah, no, they are. The other thing is, you were talking about the tinderbox, Rob, which I really agree with. The police are in the same boat. You know, they're also under a lot of stress, and that's what makes that tinderbox kind of happen. I think the protesters wanted this. They knew that they could, goad them and it would happen, it would blow up. Has it done anything for their cause? No. It's if anything, it's done the reverse of what they're trying to do. Like you said, this is for the greater good, and they're going against that. Like, not social distancing, affecting other people who are trying to make a living at the Queen Victoria Market. They're just protesters within this seem to be more selfish than anything, and just like to get out there and looking for a fight, looking for a bust up.
I do agree. Well, let's move on. And a woman has accused the Prime Minister of using her father's funeral to further his political career. It all started when a federal state brawl erupted over border closures. Like so many, Alexander Prendergast has not given clearance to enter Queensland for her father's funeral. Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk accused Scott Morrison of bullying when he attempted to raise the situation with her. Mrs. Prendergast expressed her disappointment in an open letter to the PM. Robbo, would this daughter still be angry with the PM if he had got her through, do you think?
I don't think so. I think we'd be looking at a very different scenario here, where she would be very thankful. The open letter would most likely be congratulating him. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone that way for her. Was he doing this for political reasons? Yes, he's a politician. So, like, Captain Obvious here in that letter, it's obviously that's what they're doing. I also think that there's probably an element of him, trying to use this as an example to Queensland to open up the borders. I don't think he's completely heartless. However, I really believe that if this was a different outcome, I do have to say, be thanking him.
There is something funny about the Prime Minister crying on radio over these people can't get to see their loved ones, and Josh Frydenberg along with him having a go at Queensland protecting its borders. What has their whole platform been? Whether you agree with it or not, Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg have campaigned on protecting Australia's borders, and now Queensland are doing the same from COVID-19. It's hypocrisy gone mad, isn't it, Ben?
Look, I think there is a lot of hypocrisy going on here, and I think it is a difficult situation for anyone to understand. Only last week we were talking about Gladys Berejiklian and Anastasia Palaszczuk, and on the measures that they've gone to protect their borders, and whether or not they genuinely care about the individual circumstances of people being affected. I genuinely do think that these people who are leading the country, whether they're in the Premier State or whether they are doing that nationally, I think they do care about individual situations, but they don't necessarily have time to break that down. I must admit, I read something last night on social media from a mutual friend of mine whose mother had just passed away, and then reading about all the circumstances that are now in place, making it extremely difficult to celebrate this woman's mother's life. And when you hear about those situations, you just think, oh, it must be brutal when you're in that moment. Yeah. When you're facing that, that's when it is really difficult. And I think that these people leading the country are in really difficult situations.
I think that's absolutely true. And people aren't heartless, and our leaders aren't heartless, are they, Robbo? They're just having to make really hard decisions.
Yeah, they're having to make really hard decisions, and that's just where we're at. It's so unfortunate when people can't attend funerals and things like that. It would be beyond what I could measure or understand at this point. But he saw an opportunity and he went for it. That's Scott Morrison. He saw an opportunity that would help, push his political fight, and he took it. That's just the way the world is. That's the way politics are.
And as we've discussed a lot on this show, this COVID-19 has become very politicised now. All right. A former US Navy pilot has spoken for the first time about how he saw an unidentified flying object. David Fravor was on a routine training exercise when he spotted the UFO. The pilot said the craft was manoeuvring unlike anything he's ever seen before. The craft hovered at around 80,000 feet before diving to around 20,000 feet incredibly fast. When they attempted to trace the craft, it appeared that it jammed their radar, so it couldn't be properly detected. This is normally seen as an aggressive and potential act of war, But Robbo, was it a UFO? Are you a believer? Is there something out there?
Judging by that, I would say no. It looks like, I don't know, a sultana, some milk with the lights off and put it into a black and white. I don't think that. No, I'm not. Sorry, we've turned the light off now. Yes. Look, I'm a believer, of course. You know, a classic line from the movie Contact, if we're the only ones here, then it's an awful waste of space, talking about the rest of the universe. This does nothing for me. This has not progressed the argument at all. I don't even know.
Well, he's a Navy pilot, though, Ben, and he's saying that he saw something and it hasn't been identified. So that does tell you that I have read things of Navy pilots actually believing there's something more out there.
You know, I think we would be really naive to think that there wasn't something out there. So I think, you know, when it comes down to the science of it, there must be other forms of life. I think when these certain stories pop up, they feel very Daily Mail, like they don't seem very factual. And I don't know if anyone could hear, but I had a bit of a giggle. And I think also when they say that they saw a flying Tic Tac, I remember being at a dance party once, you know, at least 15 years ago, and I don't know whether there was something in the water, but I saw a flying Tic Tac, and I don't remember ever telling anyone about it and saying that it was
Difference enough.
super normal.
This is actual video footage, not what you got after popping a Tic Tac.
Oh, hey, that was my drink was spiked. Anyway, no, look, I'm putting a few things together to be a bit silly here, but what I'm trying to say is I just think sometimes when these stories come out, I'm less likely to believe them. And that is not because I'm shut off from the whole idea. I just would need for it to be verified in a very different way. Like Scott Morrison was talking about it and said that he saw a flying Tic Tac. Oh, I don't even think that's going to make it sound any better. Let's just say I need more facts.
You've got a skeptical mind, and that's okay.
I do. I wish I didn't.
No, skeptical mind's a good mind. I'm open to the possibility, and there's been a lot of evidence, but we don't have the smoking gun, as to speak. Look, I've got to get to this because as we go to air this afternoon, Australia is facing another crisis. It appears that we could run out of rice by the end of the year. That's the worrying message from one of Australia's biggest rice companies, Sunrise. They say the yield has not been what it should be over the past couple of years due to drought, but also badly managed water plans by various state governments. Because of this, it has been revealed that Prime Minister Scott Morrison had to call the President of Vietnam to ensure that rice could still cross closed borders. Wow. I've got to tell you, my wife Amanda, when she saw me, when she saw this story, she was like, we need rice. We need rice. But Ben, what is a food you couldn't live without?
Doritos. Actual bags of Doritos. You know, my partner has accused me of being in the wrong industry. He thinks that I could be a magician because he has seen bags of Doritos disappear, like right in front of me. Like he has lent the bag over, offering one simple biscuit, and the whole bag just disappears. And I think that actually I would think we need to put some money into this. Because I think there's addictive ingredients inside those bags of Doritos.
The Ben Robin Robbo Show, brought to you by Doritos. Robbo, what's a food you couldn't live without?
Look, it might not be a food that I could not live without for my entire life, but at the moment I am deep in a McCain's pizza addiction. I can't stop eating these things. I put them in the microwave for 3.5 minutes, so I don't even worry about the oven. I can't stop. I had 2 for lunch. I'm going to have 2 for afternoon tea. This is why I'm COVID fat, but I can't get enough of them. They don't taste like what you think a pizza is. It doesn't taste like that, but it has a taste that agrees with me at the moment. So that's my favourite food, and I can't live without it.
Fair
what
enough.
About you, Rob?
Well, me, it's a really easy one. I think anyone who knows me, Vegemite sandwiches.
Yes.
I love a Vegemite sandwich. I live off Vegemite sandwiches way too much. I'm trying to cut down my bread and it's killing me. But a second favourite of mine would be potato chips covered in Worcestershire sauce. That's my second favourite food. Yeah.
What, as in a bag, like a Smith's Crisps kind of thing?
No. So, yeah, you get your potato chips, whatever brand you like.
Oh, wow.
Put them into a plate, crush them up, and then you pour Worcestershire sauce. You mix it up a bit, pour some more Worcestershire sauce, and then you eat to your heart's content. And it is.
Is it like a sludge?
Yes.
Is it
No,
sludgy?
it's not like a sludge, but Amanda won't let me eat it around her, and now she's getting upset because the kids have started eating. She's like,
I
"Don't
mean, I want
taste
to taste
this."
it, but
Disgusting.
It's beautiful.
I
Chips
wanna-
and Worcestershire sauce. It's the best.
what about Amanda's
Okay,
favourite
well, we'll
food?
take
What has
your
she
word
got for
for
us?
it.
Amanda, what would yours be? I can guess this. Yeah, a tea, a cup of tea. We live off tea in this house. Oh, she's got a tea.
In her mug. In her mug.
Yeah, she's got a Ben
good,
Robin
good.
Robbo mug.
Say, I think
Lovely.
Good, Ben.
yay!
Excellent. Well, good own.
anyone wants some merch? Anyway, sorry, they're $50 each.
$50 each.
You're
yes.
gonna make some money somehow.
Let us know what your must-have food is by going to BRR Show on the various social medias. Look, last night on the project, we saw the team hit a high note over a blooper that most certainly was not planned. Ben, it's time for a hit of entertainment. What else? What happened?
Well, I absolutely love this because anytime you see like you tried to get your parents to swear, or you see someone like Lisa Wilkinson swearing, it just makes me laugh because I think, oh my God, swearing, we take it so seriously. If you didn't see the project last night, check this out. This is what went down.
It brings a tear to your eye. And Cody, he almost ran in a third try, but it was called offside. His mum had more beautiful words than for the referee. Okay, there he is. He's off. Third try. Imagine that. Hat-trick on debut. There's his mum. I believe she said, fair call. Definitely, fair call. Wilco, was that some of your words from up in the stand there?
Oh, that was me a couple of years ago.
So the unexpected F-bomb that was dropped, you actually had to keep watching. I watched it twice because I missed it the first time. I was kind of expecting someone to have actually said the word aloud. But don't you think it's funny, guys? These days when it comes to swearing, I wonder whether or not it's as taboo as what we used to think it was. Like, I'm just wondering from you guys, should swearing still not be allowed to be said on mainstream television? That's what I want to know.
Depends on the time, I guess. Like I don't know. I wouldn't like to see at 4 o'clock in the afternoon someone dropping the F bomb. I think when the kiddies are home, Rob. I mean,
yeah. Look, I actually do try to look. My kids know swear words. They go to school. They've heard swear words. But I do have a thing where I try to keep them away from shows that have swearing. Or there have been some shows with swearing that I've let them watch, but I've made that decision myself. What I don't like is when it unexpectedly pops up where you're not expecting it. Even that clip, we know what she's saying. They're making a joke about what they're saying. So is the project family safe or not? You know, and that's the question shows like that have to ask themselves. Now, look, the project could easily be classified a PG show. They haven't broken any codes. That's not what I'm suggesting. But when it happens by accident, you sort of it's a funny thing. But that was just chosen to be in there, Ben, and I think that's the difference.
So you think that was set up for them to make sure that they had that in there as a blooper? Because it was pretty much presented to mainstream media this morning like, oh, did you see the accidental blooper?
That's not an accident. They made a joke because before that, they showed the interview with the mum and then they said, which was lovely about her son taking to the field. And then they said what Tommy said, but some lovely words. And she said more lovely words later on. They totally set that up. That's not an accident. That's just complete BS. If that's how they're spinning it this morning or this afternoon, that's not true. That's just not true.
I think when it comes to swearing, though, this is an unusual thing. I am not a big swearer, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that my mum never swore, and neither did my grandparents, who did a large part of raising me. But then I still don't see swearing to be such a big issue, and so that's why when I think about things after 7:30 at night, anytime that there's any form of swearing, I just don't see it as ridiculously taboo. I think that people use swearing all the time. It's sort of become a little bit normalized.
But that's a problem, you know, like, and you know, like when you go to the shopping centre and people are swearing and your kids are hearing that, you just got no choice these days. And I do think we have to pull it back. And David, you can have a go at me for swearing in the workplace.
No, I I wasn't going to. I just wanted to apologise because when Uncle Robbo comes to McKnight Mansion, he does have a potty mouth, and every time, it seems like every sentence I say, I'm like, and I look around. There's a little. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. And then I apologise to you and Amanda. So I'm glad that you still let me come in there because it's pretty rotten.
You're
so
on thin ice, Robbo, but not because of the swearing.
I
All right,
say something
coming up.
So sorry.
Go, Ben.
I'm rolling with the punches. I'm just going to roll with the punches. I've now lost my train of thought because I was so scared because I felt like I was talking over the top of you.
Now you're making me seem mean. Don't you get in the way of my intro.
Just to the people playing at home right now, is if you talk over Uncle Rob, there's a couple of swear words that sometimes come down the line. As an extra feature.
That is true.
Once the show's over.
Ben, we've got Malt coming up. He's going to be talking about the crazy reaction to today's episode of Studio 10. Oh boy, there's a lot to talk about there. But what have you got coming up in entertainment?
Well, I am a big superhero fan, so we've got lots of superheroes coming up in the entertainment section. Chris Hemsworth had a special guest appearance on the Today Show, which upset somebody, which I was going to say, I didn't think that Hemsworth could ever upset anyone, to be honest with you. And then one of the other superheroes has managed to show his D on the internet. So we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, he's D.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, well, Harley Breen is a comedian, TV and radio personality. He is regularly seen on the Channel 10 circuit on shows like Hughesy, We Have a Problem, The Project, and his own show, Taboo. His award-winning comedy shows are sold out and celebrated right across the country. And we're lucky enough to have him here today before the launch of the second series of Drunk History Australia, which starts on Network 10 tonight at 9:40. Harley Breen, welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Mate, it is a pleasure to have you here. You are a survivor. You are one of the few, if only, shows that came across on Pilot Week that's still going, and Drunk History is hilarious. What makes being drunk so entertaining when it comes to retelling Australian history?
Look, I think because Australian history, a lot of it, certainly the story that I'm telling tonight on Drunk History, really suits being drunk. Because
That's true.
I don't know if you know the story of Burke and Wills, but those guys were loose.
Yeah. Well, that certainly came
100%.
across in your telling. I'll tell you that.
Well, you know what? You get to play amongst some amazing people. Obviously, some familiar faces that we know from Channel 10, but then also some newbies. Who are the big standout performers in Series 2?
Well, I think it's a wonderful bit of casting to have my drunken retelling of Burke and Wills reenacted by Osher Günsberg and James Matheson. What a reunion. What a way to put them back together. And also one of my great mates and comedy legend, Cam Knight is also in my particular episode. And I do have it on good authority. I'm good friends with both Osher and Cam, and both of them were texting me during the filming going, it's very hard to lip sync to your drunken slurring.
Hey, Harley, I've got to ask, because I've watched tonight's episode, and it is hilarious, but I found it interesting with the whole series that it doesn't start off sober and get progressively drunk. You're pretty much already there when you start telling the story. So is that part of the process? How many drinks do you have before you get going?
Mate, I'm drunk now.
As am I.
Ready for Series 3.
No, I'll be honest. The rules in this country, and I've said this a couple of times this morning on the publicity trail, and I say it with great respect to the country that I live in and that it's raised me, but we think that we are very laid back and very easygoing as Australians, but we're not. We're actually incredibly rule-based, and we do have some pretty strict rules around the responsible service of alcohol, and Channel 10 and the production company certainly adhered to that, and so that is my official line on that question.
Oh, does that mean you're sober and it's all acting?
No, definitely I was not sober. No, I was drinking my favourite drink, which is called a Boilermaker, which is just one name for two drinks. That is... So a Boilermaker is just a whiskey and a beer at the same time. It's just a name justifying being double parked.
Now, where are you coming from today? Because hopefully you're not drunk and driving, but you're in the back of a car somewhere. Where are you?
Well, see, I live out on a bit of property with no reception, so I had to jump in my car and drive up to Wombat Hill Gardens in Daylesford, which is right about an hour and a half out of Melbourne in the People's Republic of Country Victoria.
You're not actually too far away from where I am, because I'm stuck in Melbourne. I know that you're also a Melbourne man yourself. So look, I know exactly where you are. I've been there before. Now, I want to quickly ask you, obviously COVID-19 hit the comedy world, and that hit the comedy world pretty hard. But your next show, Only Words, is rescheduled for December. Tickets are on sale now, just to quickly let anyone know, and hopefully everything stays on track. But how much has that show evolved or changed? And is it still going to be exactly the same way that you planned, or has it sort of been, has it given you more time to plan that show, or what sort of things have changed with it?
Well, I'm sorry to ruin your absolutely beautiful plug for my live show, but we have actually had to reschedule that show again.
No.
It's just, look, it's a really difficult thing. Stand-up comedy is my first love. I absolutely love being in front of live audiences, but there's probably not a worse job in the world of COVID-19 than being in a room jam-packed full of people laughing mouths open in your direction. So we're just pausing at this stage. But to go to the second part of your question, I really don't know. I've done a few gigs online in this kind of format, which, to be honest with you, I cannot wait until that ends because it's horrible. And it's going to be – there's no way I can do the show that I was doing prior to COVID-19. I respond to the world around me. I talk about the things that I have in my life. Only Words was sort of loosely based around my show Taboo and around having to choose your words really carefully around some really intense subject matter. So in that fashion, that element of the show will stay. But in terms of a post-COVID-19 world or a living with a new COVID-19 normal, there's just sort of no way around not being able to discuss it. But then the problem is, how hacked does it come? Because every comedian is going to be discussing it.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. And it has had a huge impact on the stand-up comedy. People are losing a lot of money because of it. There's a lot of businesses suffering, but the arts community is certainly suffering. Look, before we let you go, let me ask you about this. You were basically a bridesmaid at Ben's wedding on Hughesy, We Have a Problem. Do you remember that? And what do you remember about being there?
Yeah, it was lovely. Did you actually get married on the show? Because maybe I thought I was on Drunk History because I've forgotten that bit.
No. I kind of stitched him up with this one because I was like, Harley's not going to remember every time he was on television. But I will tell you something, and I don't think I've said this to anyone. I couldn't actually get the ring off. So that cheap ring that Hughesy gave me to get me married with, he put it on the wrong finger, and I actually can't take it off. And so it's permanently on there. So like, anyway, we didn't officially get married after that.
How to get that off. If you just get some tooth floss, Google search this so you do it the proper way, but get some tooth floss and thread one bit underneath and then wrap it very, very tightly around your finger, and then the bit that's underneath, you pull that and it will pull it off your finger. But like I said, Google search it. There'll be a video showing you how to do it.
Wow, there you go. You learn something new on the Ben Robin Robbo Show every day. Don't forget, Drunk History starts tonight on Channel 10 and the Win Network at 9:40. It is well worth a watch. And Edmonds is also hilarious in her bit tonight. Harley Breen, thank you for being with us on the Ben Robin Robbo Show.
Good on you guys. Thanks for having me.
It's the random life shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random life shot of the day.
Let's go to the Google map to see where we'll be going today. And today we're taking you to Brooks Falls in Alaska. It's in a national park there, and it's the best place in the world to watch the brown bears feasting on salmon as they swim upstream to spawn.
Oh,
it's a mostly cloudy day with a top of 18 degrees after a low of 7. Sorry, Ben, what was that?
I just said there's a bear now.
Yes, I can see 2 or 3. There's a bear in there.
The Ben Robin Robbo Show.
4 bears, Amanda's saying to me. Let's have a look at some feedback while we watch the bears frolic and eat. Carol Spencer, you might know her as Carlotta, says, "Hello, boys. You're something decent to watch. Cheers." Oh, God love
Thanks,
you,
Carlotta.
Carlotta.
Thanks, Carol.
Yes, we love Carlotta. Cameron says, and this is on the woman who was pulled from her car from police. Why was her dash cam facing her? Very good question. Justine says she just wanted attention and got it. She should have complied, then it wouldn't have happened. It's as simple as that. Gay says, I'm all for peaceful demonstrations, but now in Melbourne is not the time. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Jamie says, I don't want all this hard work Victorians have put into lockdown to push us back further. Idiots is an understatement. Christopher says, I agree, Rob. Imagine a nuclear bomb going off and them saying they don't believe it. Amanda says, love that Ben is sceptical for UFOs, but for government goes, yep, whenever restrictions you want to put in, what you see is not a problem. Oh, Benny. Lynn McKnight says, Ben, I didn't swear, but my older kids taught me. That is such a lie. My mother, I can't believe she's bringing lies to the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. Beck says, I do swear all the time, just not around them, and make a concise effort not to swear in front of my grandparents. Yes. And Mary Matthews says, I swear everywhere except at work. Thank you for all your feedback coming into the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. All right, it's time to get the latest TV news now with our very own Steve Mulk from TV Black Box. Hello, Mulky.
Hello, friend. It's good to see you all.
Good to see you too. Now, look, we know money is tight at Channel 7, but boy, they really want to get out of a big sporting contract.
They really do. $82 million a year is what Channel 7 is spending on their Cricket Australia contract. And to say that they're trying everything is an understatement. The latest salvo, according to Fox Sports, is that they've basically said to them, if you can't put up a full-blooded BBL series this summer, then we're not interested, cancel the whole thing. Now, that would be a huge play for them to suggest that that was even possible. Of course, Cricket Australia say they're going to do their best, but they're affected by the coronavirus the same as every other sport has been. And access to players is super difficult when a whole bunch of them come in from overseas.
There's a bit of media commentary about on this one, Mulk, that Seven really don't have... They can't decide their contract based on the players playing, so that's not an out for them. There's some commentary that if they make enough noise, maybe Cricket Australia will just throw their hands up in the air and do something to shut them up, basically.
Well, that's certainly what it appears to be the attempt in. I mean, the challenge for Seven, as we've talked about before, money is tight. They're trying to make things go. And look, I would be in their position working every angle possible to try and save $82 million a year. It's a challenge, though, because Cricket Australia depend on it. The players that they employ depend on that cash. And to suggest that this is a way out, look, I think it's a pretty flimsy one. It would only end up with both parties in court, facing an expensive battle, which only costs them more money.
You know, Mulk, you're looking very well today, I was just going to say. Have you been out in the sun? Have you been...
I have actually been. I stood out in the sun just before. I went and stood outside while I was waiting for my mother-in-law at the doctor, and I got a bit burnt. Don't tell my wife.
Well, a little bit of colour in your face is making you look quite nice. Anyway, I've taken you on a tangent as per usual. Now, I want to ask you, there's a new channel launching soon, and TV Black Box has had the exclusive on this. What can you tell us?
Yes, we have 10 Shake, a new multi-channel coming exclusively, of course, to the 10 network, is going to land on the 27th of September. That's a Sunday. It's going to be on Channel 13, which is currently occupied by 10 HD. It's going to move to Channel 1. There's a little bit of sort of shuffling about, so if you want to get it, you absolutely will need to rescan and set up your TV or your set-top box again. However, if you live in a regional area, unfortunately, at this point, Win and Southern Cross Austereo have said that they will not be carrying 10 Shake, which, as we can see here, heaps of Nickelodeon content for the kids during the day. And then at night time, it is all of the crazy coming from MTV, including Teen Mom Australia, Ridiculousness, a whole bunch of stuff, and from comedy in the US. A great way to reuse Viacom CBS content.
Well, look, I'm very excited. I can't wait to see all of that wonderful program.
Liar, but I appreciate
it. Now, let's talk about Plate of Origin, or Pooh, as it's starting to be called. Has it lived up to its name?
Look, it stinks. There's no question. The ratings certainly have stunk for poor old Channel 7. Yes, they paid an awful lot of money to pick up Gary Megan and Matt Preston, joining Manu Fidel as the hosts of Plate of Origin. The ratings have been dismal. Like, it started around the sort of 600s and has just shrunk from there, so much so they're going to burn off the final 2 episodes in a spectacular, epic double episode finale. Not this week, but next week. A lot like Beyond Two Worlds. Unfortunately, it's just been something that hasn't fired for them, so they need to get it really out of the way so they can get us the big new shiny shows that hopefully will work for the network.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
right.
I'm excited about that. That is for sure. Now, I have been talking about this a lot, and obviously we here at the Ben Robin Robbo Show still have a lot of connections that goes back to Studio 10. Now, this morning they launched their revamped show, Christian McManus, who I've been telling everyone in the world that I'm obsessed with. The show launched this morning, and I want to know, did you check out the reaction, and what did you think?
Yes, I did tune in to watch Sarah Harris and Christian's twin brother, Tristan McManus, hosting Studio 10. That's all right. You've had a busy day, Ben. It's
Can
fine.
I say... did I said Tristan, didn't... Oh, no, you didn't hear it because I was so obsessed with him. I was using my Irish accent.
Let's go to the tape. Here we are. Look, they look wonderful together. The only problem was that from really the first segment, it just felt a bit awkward. Now, that is going to happen, absolutely, when you bring a new pairing together. They have to kind of find out each other's groove and work out, where to jump in on each other's conversation and make that happen. It just really didn't improve. And let me tell you, the fans weighed in on social media, both on Twitter and on Facebook. A whole bunch of people jumped up and down and told us what they really thought, including some very controversial comments about the fact that Tristan wasn't wearing socks with his shoes. One comment that I saw... Yes, that's right. It suggested that it was incredibly rude for him to not do that. And I'm kind of starting to think, was he wearing their shoes or something? Like, what's the issue with Tristan not wearing socks in his own shoes? I don't get it.
Don't we have to be understanding of the fact that this is the first? We haven't even seen the first week yet. When do you think that we should start judging the show after it's had time to bed in? Do you think? Because it's really unfair to do it now, isn't it?
It's a really difficult call, Robbo. And I agree. You're not going to get the full examination of what's actually going on after 1 episode. 2 episodes, they're toast. No. Look, I think we need to allow them a little bit of growth and room time. But, yes, Rob?
I think we said here last week that we certainly have to give him a chance. And I still stand by that. And he was fine. There was nothing wrong.
Yes.
No, I'm just saying that I have a big butt coming.
Okay.
But
that's what she said.
The problem is a puddle has more depth than what was served up this morning.
Ooh.
This show is terrible. It's filler. It's nothing but filler with half-assed producing. I would be embarrassed if this was under my watch. And let me tell you, the viewers agree. There has been so much negative reaction. Channel 10, I can tell you, has actually had to shut down the comment section on its Instagram postings regarding the new hosts and the lineup. Yeah. And they have deleted hundreds of comments from Facebook. You go to any of their postings and you'll see there's 600 comments, but you only get to read about 40 of them. So, and I've been monitoring those social media pages all morning, and it's brutal. And what they have done is they've actually turned their back on the people who like the show. So who liked the hot topics. And this show has got no direction. It's it's a pale imitation of Today Extra and the morning show. It's really just thrown 2 people on air for 3 or 4 hours or whatever the show runs and not giving them much to chew on.
It's enough to make the creator and former executive producer roll in his grave, isn't it?
It is. I hate the fact it's called Studio 10. I would just prefer they called it We're Throwing Some Shit on Air.
Fling flong in the bingo.
It's the first episode. Like,
yeah,
surely
and also,
you've got it.
Yeah, sorry, Robbo, go.
Sorry, I'm just saying it's the first episode. Yeah, it was. It was a little rough, but a lot rough. But it's the first episode. Surely, it's got to be given a little bit of time before we just label it as shit. Surely.
It did seem to me and everyone knows that I've been talking about it. I've been hyping it up on social media. I love Tristan McManus. I think he's so lovely. And I think they've got a lot of room to improve with what happened this morning. To me, it just felt, though, because, you know, I love Sarah Harris. Everyone knows that. Like,
Same.
A large part of who I've looked up to with presenting, and I don't live up to it enough because I don't honor it enough, but I've always loved the authenticity that she has, and I think he's capable of doing that as well. But what seemed to be missing was there just wasn't enough for them to do this morning. You know, it did rely on too many moments of sort of trying to reintroduce who Tristan is to its audience, when in actual fact, he oozes appeal. And if you just left him alone, I think we would have been able to see that. We should have just allowed him to do his job. You know, talk about some topics, have a few wisecracks. We know that he's capable of doing that. There just didn't seem to be enough of a controlled environment to do that. I think they gave him too much of a wide berth to be able to try and fit into that, where I think it would have happened naturally had you given him the hurdles to jump over, if that makes any sense.
It does. And look, I hear what you're saying, Ben, absolutely. I agree with Robbo that it's the first episode. We need to allow them the slack of, you know, working out, finding their groove, because this is a 5-day-a-week gig. We need to, you know, allow them to get to and build into that. I totally hear Rob's commentary around the fact that it just doesn't feel the same. It's not even close. You know, they of course are still working under COVID restrictions, so that even means crossing to Angela Bishop 10 metres away, but it feels very disjointed. You know, there's some, definitely a whole list of things I'm sure that they will have had conversation in the post-show meeting today, and I'd expect that they will start to refine and you know, hone those things as the episodes progress. The challenge is always going to be, how long are 10 going to give it a chance to prove itself, and what happens to sponsors, you know, advertisers, and the ratings in the meantime. I mean, can they convince them to give it its head? I hope they can, honestly.
All I will say is
just
that...
wanted
Go on, Ben.
Sorry, I put my hand. I just was like, it must be hard, Rob, because you did start that show and you put so much time and effort into it. And I think it's hard for you to not come across like Betty Broderick talking about her, you know, ex-husband looking after the children, you know, because your level of energy is just so embedded into it. So I think what they really should have done is just change. They should have just changed the name.
Yeah, they should have. Sorry, Ben. I was going to say, I've said positive things about the show. This isn't just about being negative, but I'm a TV commentator, and I just right here made the decision. I have to critique this like I would any other show. And what they have created is a very safe space for advertisers. It's just not an engaging show for viewers. So there's no hot topics. It's chatting about inane stuff. That's what I meant by the puddle comment. You know, there's no depth to the show. They really haven't come up with a format that plays to anyone's strength. Sarah Harris had to hold that show together. She's working overtime. There was one comment on Facebook where someone said, I hope she's got strong shoulders because she's carrying that whole show. He's fine. I don't have a problem with him. Hard to understand at times. But show one should be your premiere episode. It should be your showcase, because there's going to be more eyes on show one than any other episode. The media's looking at you. Television critics, people who don't usually watch the show, might be those rubberneckers you talk about, Mulk. And I think this was a disaster.
Yeah, look, it's a challenge because it wasn't great, and 10 really needed it to be great out of the blocks. I think that they leaned a little too hard into let's introduce Tristan. Like, that's half a segment maybe, given all of the promo that we've done.
They made it 3 hours.
We didn't need to go back to his parents 17 times. As lovely as they are, you know, we just need to be his, because we want to learn about him across the show. Not here's episode 1, the Tristan show. Tomorrow, what do we get? Nothing. I don't know. So there'll be some challenge there. And look, I offer straight away, I know nothing about fashion. I do not understand it. I appreciate it, but I couldn't be anyone that gives you any kind of guidance on it. Tristan looked lovely in his suit. Sarah, by her own admission, was sticky taped into that dress she was wearing. It was not one to wear when you're sitting down on a seat. And just by the way, how ripped off is Angela Bishop having to stand up for the whole show while everyone else gets to sit down?
She'd be exhausted. But I tell you what, I'd be making a big deal tomorrow. I would bring him out a pair of socks and put them on him at the start of tomorrow's show because everyone we'll make sure he's got a pair of socks. Mog, your insights are always great. We're going to be talking about Studio 10 on TV Black Box podcast, which we are recording tonight. It will be in your podcast feed tomorrow morning, so make sure you subscribe to TV Black Box. Mog, you are a legend, and I look forward to having this out with you tonight, amongst many other topics.
It's what I've been saying for so long, Rob.
He always has a way of confusing me. Thank you, Mog.
Thanks, Moggy.
I'm in trouble, boys.
Why?
Carlotta's been on the socials. You know how I impersonate Carlotta's voice. She said, I'm trying to find it. Where is it? She said, that's not what I said. You can't impersonate me at all. And then she said, you made me sound like Reggie.
Well, the voices were similar. The voices that you do.
No, this is Reggie. Bloody hell, what you doing? Carlotta's, Dal, what you doing?
Oh, so it's a bit...
One thing is for sure, anyone who has a sound button on their computer or on their phone or on their television has just reached for the remote control to turn the sound down, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
It just came in very loud.
No, sure.
Oh, no. I've hurt your
Poor
feelings.
Robbie.
Oh, are you all right?
It's fine.
Oh, look at him. Drinking his straight vodka.
All right, it's time to get a hit of entertainment, and for that, we go to none other than Benjamin J. Norris. And Ben, the Today Show must have been loving the fact over the weekend on Saturday's show they had a guest appearance from none other than Chris Hemsworth, but it hasn't all gone so well.
Well, you would think that people would have been really obsessed about this, but they really weren't. I mean, I want you to check this out to see if you feel like this was legit. Here is Chris Hemsworth turning up on the Today Show on the weekend.
And check out the beautiful.
Heard you talking about looking for some horses. There's a bunch down here, actually, which I've noticed in the paddock. What are you doing?
Well, we're doing the weather for the Today Show, and I often get teased about not having the best presenting skills or pronunciation. You want to help me out?
Yeah, let's mispronounce all of these. All right. Cairns, possible shower, 28. Townsville, sunny, good, 28 as well. Sunshine Coast, shower or two, 22. So maybe get a raincoat ready there. Brisbane, partly cloudy, 23.
Not bad at all.
Oh, I thought he did really well, but I get so bothered by Chris Hemsworth's voice. I mean, you can tell that I'm just jealous of a really deep voice, if you ask me. But he was like, oh, anyway, it's going to be this. And, you know, he had his Thor voice on. But that wasn't why people were upset about him being on the show. Look, it turned out there was a very disgruntled father of two who slammed Weekend today for dumping his daughter. Now, just to let you know, that particular report should have happened a little bit like a whole town away, which was going to include some kids from the local school, and they got scrapped. And so this father was so disappointed that a Hemsworth bumped his child out of the way. And all I want to say to that man is, welcome to showbiz.
Yeah, that's showbiz, Dal. Look, he's probably played a smart game by making some noise about it because you can ensure that Weekend Today will get that story across. But if you've got Chris Hemsworth, of course you're going to put that to air.
And he was kind of cool. Like, I think, you know, they obviously went with that moment of just making sure it seemed authentic enough. And to be honest with you, I think he did a great job with the weather and he stuck around and had a nice chat. So I think it was really exciting. I don't really mind that little girl from Ballina missed out on her appearance.
Cry home to mummy. No, I'm joking.
Oh my goodness! Well, let's move on now very, very quickly there, Benny. On the weekend, some of us got more than we bargained for. Depends on what you're bargaining for, because I would bargain hard for this. A certain Marvel superhero gave a little bit too much. What can you tell us?
Well, Robbo, the internet nearly melted down over this one. So Chris Evans, who you would know for his role as Captain Marvel, accidentally flashed his D. I'm going to say it like that, and hopefully the kids at home know what I'm talking about. But he accidentally flashed his D on Instagram.
Penis.
So, okay, his penis. He got his penis out by mistake. Come on. I don't know. I'm like, do I have to be really clinical when I talk about people's genitalia so that it's not offensive to people? I mean, I think it's fine to say.
Where's the picture?
Anyway.
Can you show us the picture,
well,
please?
I'm not going to... I'm not going
Please
to play
put
the pick, and
the picture
I've
up.
kind of jumped ahead of
Please
myself
put the
because what I've been trying to show Robbo is some of the tweets that have appeared after we managed to see this this thing. Now, one of the funniest things I did see on the internet was...
Now you've gone to this thing. You really don't like saying penis, do you? Oh my God.
He's
Can I just say I missed it, and I was sitting at home on my couch, and all of a sudden I could see the Twitter feed with all the hashtags, and I've never really been a huge Chris Evans fan, kind of into it, but, not that excited. And then I found out what I missed out on, and then I felt like such a perv because I was Googling it, and it had been shut off and taken down everywhere. However, Trusty, that one of my best friends, Ed Pitts, shout out to you, who may be watching this at home.
Are you Googling,
He sent
Robbo?
it all to me.
No,
Well, I'll send it to you
breaking
later.
news or something. Just breaking breaking news. Oh my God.
Sorry, Ben, go on.
Because we are running out of time on the show. I just will tell you that I have got the photo. It was sent to me. What had actually happened was he was playing one of those heads-up games that Ellen created with his family, and he thought he'd share it on his Instagram video, but then when it rolled onto his camera roll, there was a photo that he'd taken in the dark of his penis. His penis looked like it was having a good moment, so I don't know how to describe that.
It was like that.
It was erect. It was erect. Anyway, I feel like this naughty school child.
That's all right. I just got in trouble. Don't worry.
Okay. The penis was seen on his Instagram, and the actor did take it down very quickly. Although from the photo I saw, thanks to my friend Ed Pitts, it was definitely worth a look. And I think that the fan base has been extended.
We're getting messages on feedback saying send it to me. Look, Ben, I want to get this story away because an Australian entertainment reporter has been recognised in a big way. What can you tell me?
Okay, so one screenwriter was a man of his word when he told Maud Garrett that her name seemed old-fashioned and worth using in an upcoming film. Now, the Australian reporter was shocked to read that Chloe Morten's character in the upcoming flick that she is going to be in is actually going to have that lead character named after her. So we're getting a little bit of imagery right now. These are some of the photos from the set, but that is our Australian entertainment reporter, Maud, who's based in Los Angeles, and she has been immortalised on film, and that is because her actual name is the character's lead name. So
that's amazing. Angela Bishop, Dickie Wilkins have been around for years, but it's Maud Garrett who gets her name as the lead character. Amazing.
Can I quickly ask Amanda, do we have enough time for the TikTok of the day? Because someone who follows us, Cameron, sent it to me, and I thought this was hilarious. Do we have it?
Yes.
Oh, we do. Okay, amazing. So thanks to Cameron, who is one of our long-time watchers or listeners. He sent this in, and it reminded me of all of the Ben, Rob and Robbo show and Amanda on a Friday night drinking our wine, but it's a cow. Check it out.
Oh wow!
Not too far from the truth, Ben. I've got to tell you that. Not too far from the truth.
My nostrils are sore.
Well, guys, thank you for a fabulous episode. Ben, thank you for your entertainment report. Informative as always. Hey, some big shows heading around. Tomorrow we will have the winner of The Masked Singer, and that is just one of the many surprises we have for you this week. So make sure you stream along with us tomorrow from 1 o'clock on Ticker TV and your social media feed. And we're replayed on Ticker at 5 p.m. Don't forget, we also put it on a podcast. So if you can't see the video, listen to it as a podcast. Just search for the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. And we're available on demand at facebook.com/BRR Show and all the other social media places. Thank you, Robbo. Thank you, Ben. We'll see you tomorrow.
It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.